Guys, I did not pass my glucose test. Now what? So I don't know if you've seen the video where I actually take the glucose test. I took it a while back. Totally forget when. I think my 26th week or something. So bad at that time, time-wise. Sometimes in my 20s. I'm currently 33 weeks pregnant. And I'm going to just basically go through what happened after I didn't pass my glucose test. And like what I have been experiencing. So possibly this is something you might experience. I'm not sure how it is in every system, but this is what I've been going through and what my experience was. First off, the video I already had taken, it's what they told me was in a 1 hour glucose test. So basically what happened was I took a drink. It's a sugary compacted drink, basically like an orange lemon soda or something, but not as amazing. It's just really sugary, so it really burns my throat. After an hour of drinking that, you get your blood drawn, and then they test your blood levels to see how much of that blood is still left over. You do have to fast, although with my doctor she had recommended, like she didn't have like recommend fasting. So basically fasting would be like not having eaten the entire, from the time you fell asleep to the time you actually take it. So a lot of people tend to take the test right in the morning. I took it more towards the afternoon, but I still hadn't eaten, but I don't have a tendency to eat till like way later in the day. They called me back saying that the levels were a little high, which kind of scared me. My previous pregnancy, I had the exact opposite. Apparently, I was not diabetic in the least bit, so I kind of expected that as well, but that was not the case. So they told me I had to go and take what they called a 3-hour glucose test, and I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what was going to be happening. I thought, oh, I'm gonna drink it. 3 hours later, they're gonna test my blood just like the other one. However, that was not the case. So when I actually went and got the 3-hour glucose test done, they went ahead. They tested my blood first. Then they gave me the drink right after. Then an hour after, they took my blood. An hour after that, they took my blood again, and then an hour after that, they took my blood. So it was a total of 4 drawings and 3 hours, a total of 3 hours. So then they took the labs back and checked. A lot of people tend to not pass the first one, and then they pass the second one. I did not. They did go over it with me, not my OB. My OB basically just said, well, it was abnormal, we're going to send you to the dietitian. So I freaked out just a little bit. I was a little depressed. I didn't know what was going on, what was to expect. But it is what it is. So after my doctor had told me that I did not, or that the numbers were abnormal, I got sent to a dietitian specifically for maternal diabetes, a maternal diabetes center, where I had a dietitian basically sit down with me and explain everything. So I didn't know much about gestational diabetes. This is what I have. What I do have is what the dietitian gave me, which was that pamphlet. So this is the pamphlet that I was given, and it basically goes through what the gestational diabetes is and some of the other questions you may have. So first it kind of goes over gestational diabetes, which I will go over with you. So basically, our body produces insulin, and that insulin helps us use sugar as energy. Because of pregnancy, or possibly because of pregnancy, this is just gestational diabetes, not diabetes in general. Just in gestational diabetes, which is pregnancy diabetes, only strictly to pregnancies, your hormones, your pregnancy hormones basically get in the way of your body being able to use that insulin. And then, so what happens is your body still has a ton of this sugar in your system, and it ends up going into the baby, this excess amount of sugar. So that's what they don't want, is a lot of sugar going into the baby's bloodstream. Why is that? Well, let's go into that. So one of the things that they said was that you could have a really big baby, which isn't, I think, a bad thing, but you know, you could have an overweight baby and they would, you know, definitely suffer with a weight loss or, you know, retaining weight. They could even maintain like a diabetic or be diabetic themselves. So that is something definitely you do not want. Because they do get big, it could be that you have a harder labor because they would be big. So you want to prevent that. And if they do get too big, you may even get into labor early and they could be born premature. So it's something you kind of just want to prevent. They also have a couple things that's just a little too scary, and I think it's just too much out there. They said stillbirth, obesity, diabetes with them. So it's a little scary when they're telling you that, but it's just what could happen if you don't fix what you need fixing. Basically, there's these ways you can treat your diabetes. I think the best word is to manage, because you can't really help that your hormones don't help or don't use the insulin. So that's nothing on your part. That's just hormones. So how can you manage it? Is through diet. That's what I've been doing. All I need is a diet, and it's not necessarily like a strict diet, but it's just basically making sure that you're not consuming too much sugar or carbohydrates, and I will get into that in a little bit. They also recommend staying active, making sure you're walking, which I don't necessarily do, but I do have a 2-year-old and I play with her all the time, so I feel that with that should be enough. But I have recently been more aware of maybe I should take a walk or something inside a mall or something. I hate the outdoors, so yeah, especially now. Right now it's the summer. It is finally getting to the point where it's becoming bearable, but I was not about to go out for a walk in the heat while pregnant. Yeah, no. And then for other cases, which is not my case, there would be medications or even like insulin, but that is not my case, but that's just there. So after they explained all of this to me, they gave me a little blood test reader. Yes, unfortunately, I do have to prick my hand 4 times a day, which I will get into. And then I basically use my meter to read it 4 times a day. It is not fun. It is not the worst thing in the world. It's something I did not want to do, but for the sake of my child, I will do it. So basically, I have to read my blood 4 times a day. Once when I wake up, which they call the fasting time, so that whole whatever amount of hours you slept of not eating, you test, make sure it's a certain level. Your goal from that point, when I check the thing, it should be between 60 and 95, whatever the number is. It says mg/dl. I don't know what that is. And then I have to take my blood sugar reading an hour after every major meal. So breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So I have to eat something, time myself, and then an hour after take my blood. This has been really, really annoying. There have been a few times where I completely forget. And I'm not necessarily like the most busiest person, but at the same time, I don't have time to, well, I do have time. It's just, it's been tough making sure that I remember, oh, it's been an hour, so, or I forgot to put on a timer saying this is an hour since I've eaten. I've also been keeping a log of what I eat. So they actually recommended just for the first week, but I made this really nice Excel form sheet, and I put a lot of work and effort into it, so I've been keeping up with it as well each week after, and I will tell you what I use that in a little bit. But the things I've been doing to work or manage my gestational diabetes is obviously the diet, and I basically have to eat 6 times a day, and that is way too much for me. I'm lucky if I eat twice a day. With my pregnancy, I'll at least eat 3 times a day, but they want you to have breakfast, and they want you to have a snack, then they want you to have lunch, then they want you to have a snack, then they want you to have dinner, then they want you to have another snack right before you go to bed. This has been just way too much planning on my part, because not only is it just a matter of eating whatever's around, you have to make sure that it's an appropriate amount and it's measured, and like protein. Okay, so that's the one thing. I'm supposed to stay low on carbohydrates, so very little bread, very little sugar, definitely managing that. But the amount of vegetables and protein you eat is completely different. Milk is something that you shouldn't be eating at first. So something that I've always loved having for breakfast is something sweet. I had a lot of like cereals in the morning, milk, coffee with milk. Those are the types of things I enjoy from breakfast. And they said, do not do that. No cereals and fruits for breakfast. Like yogurts, not even. They want me to have high protein and very little carbs. And I'm not much of a protein eater. I'm more of a bread eater. So this has been very challenging for me. So I'm hoping to do a video on what I actually eat for my gestational diabetes. We shall see if I actually do that. But they have a list of like how many carbs, servings, and protein servings, and veggie servings, and fruit servings I should have. And it's just, I have been keeping up with it. It just has consumed a lot of my time. It's a lot of my brain space is thinking ahead of time and planning out my day around my meals, which has been so frustrating. That's just not what I do. But I do think this will help, because I do plan on getting on a stricter diet postpartum so I can lose a good chunk amount of weight. So this is kind of like, you know, when you're pregnant and you just want to eat whatever junk you can because you're pregnant and nobody cares. Just going from that to cutting cold turkey so that you can lose a bunch of weight was going to be hard. So I am kind of glad that I am on this diet, that I can basically limit myself, and I don't think it would change postpartum. I'm not sure. We'll see. We shall see. But it's really definitely going to be a lot of help, and it's been tough, because if there's one thing I have been craving this pregnancy is sweet stuff, and I've just had to kind of like block it out of my head and be like, no, you can't have soda, no, you can't have ice cream, you cannot have that for breakfast, because your baby depends on what you actually consume. So it has been hard, but not impossible. After a week, the first time I visited my dietitian, a week later, she had me come back in. She read all my numbers, and I actually used my Excel form that I had, which I'm very proud of, that basically listed the what date it was, what my reading was, and what I had eaten, both in my breakfast, or like my main meal and snacks, so that she could have everything. And basically what she did was she took the numbers and just made sure that they were in number. So after lunch, or after a meal, you should not be, an hour after your meal, your number should not be over 140. And then of course, as I mentioned earlier, you should be not over 95 as far as the sugar or the levels go. So she just makes sure that your numbers are in check. I'm not sure. I've only gone over once, and that was because I really was craving pancakes. So I had pancakes in the morning. I made them. Felt completely justified. But I did go over. You're supposed to stay under 140, and my number an hour after my gorging of pancakes was 154. So it was not horrible. However, I did need to I did put that in there, and she said just make sure that either you do a nice walk afterwards or just kind of avoid eating that sort of food in general. So that's what I've been doing. It's been tough. She did the first visit when I visited her. She did go over what had actually happened with my 3-hour glucose test. So basically my OBGYN did not go over this, but she did. She showed me the numbers, and there was a number I was supposed to be at before, well, the fasting period, before the actual drink. Then an hour after, it should have been under a certain number, and my number was under that. And then after that, there was my numbers were supposed to be under another certain number, and unfortunately that number was a little high. Then the third number was supposed to be under a certain number, and it was. So because of that one number and it was a little high, it's considered gestational diabetes, where it's just basically the hormones, which I already mentioned. So right now I'm at my 33rd week. This is apparently another time in your pregnancy where your hormones start changing a lot, so it could increase. So you would really need to monitor that and make sure. I'm not sure exactly when the different weeks time periods. This is just what I was told, and this is my experience. So I wish I had that to tell you, but I don't. That's what my experience with failing my glucose test has been. I hope this was helpful and informational, because I didn't know anything. I didn't really look up any videos, which is something I normally do, but I'm pregnant and I'm too tired, and I got a 2-year-old who just wants to watch Muppet Babies all day long, and I do not have time to watch as much YouTube as I used to. But I'm pretty sure there are plenty of videos out there. I just wanted to give my input and my experience. So I hope you enjoyed. I do have pregnancy updates and vlogs and other kind of mommy pregnancy related videos, so you can check me out in any of those next videos. See you then.